why can't they stop? Like, why the moment you hit play, people be like, let me turn my chainsaw on? What's happening? Not that we don't love the soundtrack of a chainsaw in this channel, but I mean, I'm trying to work here. Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times to talk about books. And today is an exciting video because we are going to talk about a lot of things that are coming out in the month of August. So August is packed with new releases. I have thrillers and horrors. I have a lot of middle grades, which I love. We have some YA, we have some adult books, and there is a lot. I think I have a list of around 29 titles. So this is gonna be a woozy. I'm gonna be woozy after this.
I'm feeling woozy, yeah!
I would like to tell you guys thank you so much for all the support with these videos, because these videos tend to get the most views, and honestly it's the ones that it takes me the longest to prepare and to edit because I have to do all of the digging and searching for books. So today we're here to talk about all of those new releases that I have found that I think are interesting, some of my anticipated releases, all of that good stuff. So let's jump into it.
It's coffee time.
Also, I'm gonna be reading the titles from my notes, so if you see me looking like there, that's where I have my notes because it is really hard for me to memorize every title and author's name, and I want to make sure that I say the name correctly. So yeah, there's the heads up. If you're new here, I always start just by the publication date, so we're gonna be checking out what's coming at the beginning of August to the very end of the month. Like I said, it is a packed month for interesting thriller and horror releases, so we can all be excited for this summer. The first one is one that I'm particularly excited about, and the author was Ed Yelg, and it is a book that is going to be something that book lovers, I think, are going to really appreciate. The book is called The Book Eaters by Sunji Dean, and this is adult fantasy horror with queer characters. And the reason why I say it's going to be for book lovers, it's because in this book we follow certain people that are able to consume books. They basically eat the book and then they remember everything from the book. It's like, why can't we do that in real life? What is it not already happening in 2022? So basically they find romances sweet, they find, I think, thrillers kind of like more spicy. So I just cannot wait. This concept is great. Another thing that will be really convenient is that the book eaters can also consume a map, and then they know where things are. It's like, how awesome would that be for us? Yeah, so basically we follow a couple of these book eaters and what happens with their families and the way that they consume books and what types of books, and it just sounds so good. Next we have The Devil Takes You Home by Gabino Iglesias, and this is a horror thriller about a man whose daughter is sick, and then his marriage is also not going great, and he decides to take a job as a hitman, basically because this poor man is in debt and, you know, everything is just not going well for him. He decides to take the risk and gets involved in very dangerous jobs that he has to do. That's all I know, but you know, it sounds like an interesting thriller, I guess. I have never read anything by the author, so I don't know what to expect from this one. The next one is a very interesting retelling that I think a lot of people are going to be interested in, and that is Long Live the Pumpkin Queen by She Earnshaw. This is a YA retelling fantasy, and it is obviously based on Nightmare Before Christmas, and I feel like that is one of the most well-known movies, animated movies, well, stop animation in this case. So I'm excited to see what the author is going to do with this one. I have read books by her before and enjoyed them, especially enjoyed the atmosphere in her stories, so I'm really curious to see what they did with this. The next one is a compilation of short horror stories, and it is called Haunted Tales, Classic Stories of Ghosts and the Supernatural, and is edited by Lisa Morton and Leslie S. Klinger. So if you're looking for some new ghost stories, if you want to discover new authors that write supernatural tales, this might be good for you. Next we have The Honeys by Ryan LaSala, and this is YA horror with queer representation, and our main character Mars is a gender fluid character, and he's always been kind of at the shadow of his sister. And that is until his sister tragically dies, and now he's trying to learn a little bit more about the life of his sister that he didn't really know much of. So he starts, of course, digging and investigating and talking to his sister's friends to try to find out more about her, but what he gets in return is probably information that is leading him to whatever happened to her sister. Maybe somebody killed her. We'll have to find out. Moving on to Small Angels by Lauren Owen. This is adult gothic horror fantasy, and this one sounds really interesting because it deals with something that is lurking in the woods, some kind of secret that it is related, attached to this village. And one day during a wedding in the village, a wedding that has been planned for a long time and everybody's excited about, apparently there is some sort of entity, some sort of like supernatural creature that decides to join the party, the wedding party, and starts to, you know, reveal secrets of the people, probably. I don't know exactly, but it sounds amazing. You know, what is best to crash a wedding party than a supernatural entity? The next release is The Wild Hunt by Emma Seckel, and this is horror historical fiction. We are in an island, and I believe we follow different characters that live in this island. Each of them have their own traumas related to war, and all of them are kind of trying to look for a fresh start in one way or another. However, a kid disappears, and there is, I think, a kind of mythical creature that appears in this book as well, related to Scotland, which I'm really excited to see. So yeah, this one is going to be quite interesting because I think the concept is a little bit more unique. Then we have another book about tales, you know, horror tales, horror short stories that I'm really excited about, and this one is called Hell Hath No Sorrow Like a Woman Hunted by R.J. Joseph. And these are tales about Black women and how, you know, women have to carry so much on their shoulders. They are responsible for so much and they take care of so much, but apart from being mothers and wives and friends and daughters, there is something else, some other secrets to these women. Some of them are victims, some of them are monsters, some of them are both. So this sounds just so interesting, and I'm really excited to discover these tales. Next we have a mystery thriller that just sounds fantastic, and it is called Stay Awake by Megan Goldin. This is an adult mystery thriller, and our main character Liv, you know, her journey starts like some thrillers that I have already read. She basically has no recollection of what happened to her. She wakes up at the back of a taxi. She doesn't remember what happened to her. She's dropped at home, and basically she rings the bell, and somebody else is living in her apartment, so she's left outside. She tries to look for her phone. She cannot find her phone, but she finds a bloody knife in her pocket. And not only that, but her hands are covered with black ink that says stay awake. So I'm like, yes please. It sounds great. I mean, we all seen a lot of thrillers that start with a character that has no recollection of what happened to them, but this one sounds really good to me, so this is one that I might try to get. The next book is going to be perfect for people that loved that beautiful movie that I should revisit at some point called Idle Hands, and the book is called Ricky's Hand by David Quantick, and this is horror comedy. So we follow a guy that is a paparazzi. Basically, you know, he snaps pictures from celebrities, and one day he wakes up and he realizes that one of his hands feels weird, feels different. It feels like it's not his hand anymore. But it's not just a feeling, because that hand has a tattoo that he never got. So like, what is actually happening to him? Sounds interesting. Normally I don't always go for horror comedies, but this one might be for me because, like I said, you know, I really did enjoy Idle Hands, the movie, so maybe this one is fun. Next we have something completely different. We have a book called The Women Could Fly by Megan Giddings, an adult horror fantasy, and this is a book in which single women were targeted because we're living in a world where witches exist, and we follow the relationship between a woman and her mother. I believe it's going to be a little bit of a witch hunting kind of book because it has been compared to The Handmaid's Tale from Margaret Atwood as well. This one is based in a world in which witches and single women are being monitored and controlled, so I'm kind of excited about this one. I don't think I've ever read a book exactly like this that is about witches, so you know, I really want to give this one a try. The next one is pitched as a mix between The Hunting on Hill House and Knives Out, and it's supposed to be a fight for an inheritance. So the book is called These Fleeting Shadows by Kate Alice Marshall, and this is YA horror fantasy with queer characters. Now, I both love The Hunting on Hill House and I had so much fun with the movies Knives Out, so this sounds like it's gonna be a lot of fun. We do have here the trope of a girl, in this case called Helen, that out of the blue inherits like her grandfather's house, like a big mansion. We've seen that before, but like I said, I'm just really excited because I do love the drama of this inheritance kind of battles between family members, so I just want to get all of that drama. The next one is not a novel, but it is a graphic novel, and I wanted to add it here because it is a middle grade horror graphic novel, and I really don't know if there are so many out there, so I thought this one would be perfect also for people that have kids or need to make, you know, presents to someone that has kids. Then you can give them this this graphic novel, and it is called Up to No Ghoul by Cullen Bunn, and I just think like this title is so cute. I do have to mention that this is a companion novel to another graphic novel called The Ghoul Next Door. I mean, it's by the same author, so I don't know, I've never heard of it before, and when I found this on the new releases, I was like, I need to mention it because it has to be so much fun, you know, to have a graphic novel that is also for middle grade readers. It might be even something good for kids that want to read, but maybe novels are still a little bit too challenging for them. And also we have vampires in this, so yes please. And we keep going with more middle grade because there's a lot of spooky horror middle grades that I found are coming out in August, and I'm really excited. So the next one is called The Black Slide by J.W. Ocker. Like I said, it's a middle grade horror, and it is about a couple of friends that at school decide to go into this black slide, and when they do that, they end up in a different world that is very cool. It's very dark, it's full of creatures. Those creatures are seeking for immortality, and now our group of friends are gonna have to fight for their lives. The next one sounds really good and interesting to me because it is a middle grade horror, but it also deals with grief, which is something that I love to see in books. And this one is called The Appearing House by Ali Malinenko. This is middle grade horror, and she is responsible for writing Ghost Girl as well, which I've always loved the cover, always wanted to try it. Now this one, in this case, it is a standalone middle grade, which is something that you also don't see so often. I feel like a lot of spooky middle grades are series or trilogies. The story is about a terrifying house, but also about the hunting experience of this girl that has been battling cancer and how she dealt with grief. So I feel like this one is going to be kind of a deeper, a little bit more intense middle grade, but I am really excited. Honestly, in these videos I should tell you guys to take a shot every time I say I'm excited. Because that is like for every single book, like, okay bitch. Now the next one is a book that it's said to be perfect for fans of Supernatural, the TV show that I absolutely love and adore, and I'm actually rewatching it from the very beginning because my partner has never seen Supernatural, and I thought it was about time so that we can keep our relationship. So the book is called Demon Dagger by Russell James, and this is full-on horror, and this is of course about a demon hunter. But the fun thing about this is that we have a demon hunter that's actually being hunted himself by a demon, so now he's in the poop. Basically, our main character has this ability that when someone is possessed by a demon, he's able to see the demon and probably, you know, understand what they need in order to be released, to be vanished. But now, like I said, he is not in a good position because he's now the one that is being hunted. So the next one, I am so excited about this one. I absolutely love books that are based on horror movie sets that have something to do with movies, and the next book is Runtime by Catherine Ryan Howard, and this is a horror thriller, and it says movie making can be murder. That is the tagline, and I'm like, yes please. So it is all about a movie that is being made, things that are not working out, an actress that has to be replaced last minute. I believe they're shooting a movie somewhere in the woods, and I'm just like, give it to me. I like that the you know, the description on Goodreads is not really giving you any real information about what the book is going to be about, apart that it's going to be about making a movie, a horror movie. And I love that I'm going to go into it without knowing much. This is definitely one that I am the most excited about. The next one is not particularly horror, but I thought I would mention it here because it's another middle grade. In this case, fantasy is a little bit darker than your regular middle grade fantasy, so I thought maybe this one would be perfect for people that don't want a too scary book, you know, and still want to read some middle grade with some dark themes. So we have here Goblin Market by Diane Zaller, and this is middle grade fantasy retelling, and it's a story about a couple of sisters that have to save each other from the Goblin Prince. This is inspired by Polish folklore, so I am also really excited about that. I love to discover other legends and folklore from other countries that I don't know about. So this is one that I am also probably gonna try to get at some point. The next book is a release that I have already read, and I can already tell you that this is a great read because it was such a different experience, but it is quite disturbing and quite intense, so these might not be for everybody, and that is Anybody Home by Michael J. Seidlinger, and this is adult horror, and this explores the concept of basically home invasion. We follow a group of professionals that, you know, are professionals in the field of home invasion, and we get told stories of how they went into houses, how they do it, what they do with the family, all of these. And it is quite dark and intense. I love that we got a lot also descriptions from like what the cameras are capturing in the moment, so there was kind of like a great balance between things that we see through the cameras and what the characters experience. This is a book that is going to feel realistic because it's something that could happen to anybody anytime, and it is such a scary thought because I feel like we've all consider this being home alone at some point, that somebody could just come into our house, you know, barge in for no reason. So yeah, this is, you know, also something that I love to see in movies as well, home invasions, because I feel like it's one of those horror themes that are really horrifying because they just feel like it could happen. Our next book, it is another collection of short stories, but in this case it is actually non-fiction, so this is why I'm really excited about this one in particular, because I need to read more non-fiction. And this one is called The Hunted History of Invisible Women, a collection of true ghost stories by Liana Renee Heber and Andrea Janes. Those are the editors. And it is a non-fiction historical paranormal, so you know what to expect. You're gonna hear stories from women that have had paranormal experiences, that have seen ghost encounters. And I'm really excited about this one because not only do we have here stories about ghosts and hauntings told by females, but also it is non-fiction, so it is things that actually happened. So this one just sounds so good. Next, we have a book that I have on my TBR pile for August, so hopefully I will get to it, and that is Darling by Mercedes M. Yardley, and this is a horror story about a woman that when she was 16, she basically had to leave home and she was able to escape some sort of evil that was in her hometown. And now as an adult, her parents both are deceased, and she decides to move back to her childhood home with her daughter, and she realizes that that evil is still kind of attached and lurking inside of the house. So that is all I know. I really like this cover. I have it on my Kindle, so hopefully I'll get to it and report back at the end of the month. The next one is one of my most anticipated releases for this year, and I feel like I've been waiting for this one for so long because I'm so excited, and that is obviously Clown in a Cornfield 2, Frendo Lives by Adam Caesar. This is YA horror, and the first book was a slasher, so I'm considering the second one also to be a slasher. Now, I cannot tell you too much about book 2 because I feel like, you know, if I read you the synopsis, it's gonna spoil the first book. So I'm just gonna tell you to read the first book. Like, what are you waiting for? Queen and her dad moved to a small town, and people there are a little bit weird. The older people and the younger generations kind of like don't really like each other. They have some sort of like, you know, a hate relationship, I would say. And one day at a party, at a barn next to a you know, cornfields, people start dying, people start being targeted and killed by a clown. So perfect. I mean, it was just so much fun. It's fast-paced, it's action-packed, it's so much fun. If you love slashers, please give this one a chance, and if you can, please pre-order the second book like I did, because it does help the author. And Adam Caesar is an author that has been publishing for some time, self-publishing, indie publishing, so I feel like Clown in a Cornfield has been one of his most popular books, and I would like to see him, you know, being supported by the community. The next book is by the author that wrote Midnight at the Barclay Hotel, which is a middle grade horror that I just read and I really enjoyed, so I feel like this one is going to be another must pre-order for me, and that is Daybreak on Raven Island by Fleur T. Bradley. So it's middle grade horror, and I really like the concept of this one, kind of like in a similar way that we had in the Midnight at the Barclay Hotel. We have here kids that need to solve a murder, a kind of like whodunit scenario. This time kids from school are taken on a day trip to a prison. Like, what a cheerful thing to do. And when they're about to go back home in the woods, they find a dead body, so they are unable to leave the island where the prison is, and they have to stay there, and they have to figure out who killed this person, you know, and obviously the kids are going to be the ones that are going to figure it out. Yeah, so I'm really excited about this one. It sounds like fun. The next one is an adult horror book with queer representation that I am super excited about, because this setting is just fantastic. It just sounds so good, so I hope it's not gonna disappoint, and that is Ashthorn by April Yates. And this is a book that, you know, it's basically right after World War I, and we have one of our main characters that it is struggling. She needs food, she needs somewhere to go after the war, and she decides to take a job as a nurse in a hospital that is basically attending all of the injured soldiers from war. And when she gets there, she falls in love with another girl, which we love to see. And apart from that, there are some really dark secrets in this hospital, things that she didn't know before she took the job. So that's where the horror aspect is probably gonna come in. And I just love this setting. Like, yes, please. Moving on to another one that I'm also probably gonna have to buy, yay, for my wallet, because this is a Dracula retelling, so you already know I'm gonna have to read this. It is called Reluctant Immortals by Wendelin Kist. This is a gothic horror fantasy retelling, and it's going to be focused on some of the immortal characters from Dracula by Bram Stoker. This one has been compared to Mexican Gothic, which I also really did enjoy. So this is one that, yeah, like I said, I just have to spend the cash money and get it. This one follows Dracula and Mr. Rochester, but also two women that survived them, Bertha and Lucy. So I don't know exactly what's going to be the dynamic here between the characters, but I am interested that they are taking a different approach to the story. So yeah, this is one that, you know, as a fan of Dracula, I just have to read. And the next one is a book for those people that love some poetry. We have Girls from the County by Donna Lynch, and this is adult horror poetry, so you can expect to find some really dark, disturbing poems. So we all had so many stories about country girls and about city girls, but this one is focused somewhere in the middle as county girls, and all of those stories in the middle. Then this one is an adult thriller called Number One Thing by Meg Ellison, and this has, you know, as the title implies, somebody that it is perhaps a little bit too obsessed with a novelist. So our main character is a writer, and she takes a cab on a way to an event, and after that she blacks out. When she wakes up, she's chained to a chair in someone's basement, and she feels like she might know who her kidnapper is. It is definitely somebody that's really familiar with her work. That's all I know. Sounds intriguing. It could be a little bit, you know, tropey, but we shall see. Our next book, I feel like it does not need much explanation, because it is a book by R.L. Stine that we all know, so we kind of know what we can expect, and it's called Stine Tinglers, All New Stories by the Master of Scary Tales, R.L. Stine, and it is of course YA horror. So this is another one that I'm gonna probably auto buy when it comes out, because, you know, we love spooky stories and it is YA new stories. I do believe like some of his older works work better for me than the newer ones, but I'm willing to give this one a try. This next book sounds like it's gonna be fun because it is an adult comedy horror, and the cover, I have to give it to them, looks like it's gonna be fun. And you know, those typical tropes about neighborhoods and new neighbors and things like that, but with evil spirits, you know, it sounds really entertaining. It might be a cozy read. So this is called Suburban Hell, and it is by Maureen Kilmer. So it is about a group of friends that decide to move in the suburbs. They want to kind of have a more quiet time for themselves. They're, you know, a little bit away from the city and from all of the noises and stuff. And when they move there, everything's going peachy until one of our characters, I think she starts to reform the house, and that kind of releases an evil spirit into the neighborhood, something like that. Sounds like it could be fun. You know, it could be my type of humor as well, so I would be willing to give this one a chance. Alright guys, so those were all 29 releases that I wanted to talk to you about today. I've been here for who knows how long. So I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope that, you know, you found something in this list that you enjoy. I really try my best to compile big list with a lot of options for all types of readers. If there's anything that I missed, because honestly there is just so much coming out every month, let me know down below. If there's any kind of thriller or book that I missed to mention, let me know. I will be, you know, adding it to my endless list of books to get. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed, and thank you guys as always so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in our next coffee time. Bye.